Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the very last Breakfast Club for 2018. This year definitely went by super fast. We've got holidays the next Tuesday and the Tuesday following, so this will be it for Breakfast Club. So thank you so much for taking a little time out of your day to spend with us. I know I can speak for the three of the trainers today that we really love this time that we get to spend with you, and we really appreciate you joining us live on the call. And if you're watching the video, we appreciate that too. Don't forget to like and comment down below because we do get a chance to watch all those comments. So my name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. I'm one of your hosts today. Our other co-hosts are Ms. Carol Ray. Carol's the founder of Notary to Pro. And we also have Laura Biewer, founder of At Your Service Mobile Notary and coaching and educational systems. So you've got an amazing array of perspective and experience here. And you guys have submitted some pretty amazing questions. So first of all, I just want to make sure Carol and Laura made it onto the call. Hey, Carol, how are you?
I'm terrific, but I got a solution to a big problem for me.
Oh.
On Tuesday mornings, I'm usually busy, and I hate putting makeup on and combing my hair, so I'm going to use this from now on.
Problem solved.
Barbara made these emojis for me, and they really look like me.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm terrific. How's everybody else?
Good, good. Thank you. Laura, thank you. Welcome. I'm glad you made it as well.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
All right, we're going to get started here. I'll go over kind of the layout for us, but first, Carol, I know you're super busy on Tuesdays, and again, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend with everybody here on the call today.
I love it.
Tell me something that you're excited about this week.
I've got several things that I'm really excited about coming up this next year. Number one, we launched Notary to Pro in Spanish. Awesome. Which we haven't talked a lot about because we wanted to kind of get it perfected. And I think you're going to be interviewing the fellow that we have that translated. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. This is really exciting. And the few people that we've had come to us to teach them in their native language, even though they may speak beautiful English, to relate to them and teach them in that native language that they were raised with is very exciting. So that's kind of the number one thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh,
yeah, I'm excited about it. Number two is that we are adding a lot more merchants to our graduates website. And for those people who don't know, we have once people graduate, we have a website which is free to them with a lot of resources, a list that I talk about and things like that. But we have merchants, and Laura she's going to be a star this year, because she's agreed to be one of these merchants. And what that is they have programs where they teach. I've got a gal who's got a master's in communications coming up. We've got a process server, somebody that's very well known in Facebook, Michelle Riley out of Alabama. We've just got so many things, and Laura's got a whole array of things that she's going to be teaching. And the idea is graduates can go to these people and get training to diversify their businesses, but it's not going to cost them what it might cost somebody else. They get a special discount for being a graduate. So that I'm really excited about. And then one other thing that we have going is a marketplace. We realize that we have between 3,500 and 5,200 visitors a week at notarytopro.com. That's a lot of people. So we're going to be working with our merchants and other people, notaries, anybody who wants to put a little business card or something, and that will be visible to all of the people who come to visit us. So that's what I'm very excited about. I think 2019 is going to be amazing for us.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. I'm excited to be a part of it. Laura, tell me what you're excited about. Oh, you're muted, Laura. Sorry. It's not as exciting when it's on mute.
What can I tell you? So, this year I started something that I'm planning to expand, and that is taking my meetup on the road. I've been having a meetup group for almost 10 years in my own area. And then recently I did it in a few other areas, and I do have the opportunity to travel. So I'm going to Carmel for the end of the year. I'll be there the 30th through the 1st, and I'm planning a meetup in Carmel area. So if anybody on the chat today is in the Monterey Carmel area and you want to meet up with me, please let me know. I did post it on the California Network Facebook, and I'll post it in a few other places. Where 2 or more are gathered, great things can happen.
Man,
so if you want to get a jump, a head start and a jump on 2019, let's meet up and talk about it. So I'm very excited about that.
I love it. That's awesome. There's, we can do great things when we're online and via email and web calls, but there's something really powerful about meeting in person. So yeah. I'm so excited to see you doing that. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then for me, what am I excited about? Well, I'm excited about a ton of stuff. And I think you're going to see, guys, a lot of that theme is the enthusiasm and excitement that we have about our businesses. That's probably part of the reason that Laura, Carol, myself have reached a certain level of success. We love what we do. So for me, I'm still very excited about the Notary Optimized website course that we have going on because I'm also learning along with you. We have partnered with Green Monkey Marketing, and I'm doing my homework, surprisingly. So I've been watching the videos. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, we have our next discussion, and we're talking about keywords and all those different keywords that might help boost a notary's business, because keywords are what your potential customers are using to shop for your services online. So that's the next conversation that we're having tomorrow. It's completely free. If you'd like to join us, you can jump on to notarywebsite.com and give us your email so I can keep you up to date and current on the login and all that good stuff there. All right, awesome. So in addition to all of that, you guys have submitted some really amazing questions, and I absolutely love this. Things I'm not even thinking about. So this is a mutual learning experience, so I really appreciate it when you guys reply to the emails and send us stuff. I know in addition to those, there's some of you on the call right now that have more amazing questions. So basically how today's gonna look is we're gonna go through the live questions. You guys have taken the time out of your day to be here with us, and we wanna honor that. So we're going to open it up to questions from you. If you have something immediate, great. If it comes to you later, that's totally fine too. 2 ways to do it. You can raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can type it into the chat window. Laura and Carol are going to help me monitor that chat window so we make sure that we get all those questions. The other way you could do it, is just type it into chat. Okay, we already did that. So after that, we're going to do the submitted questions on the PowerPoint. We've got a few today to get through, and they're really great. And then we're going to close out today's session with some amazing takeaways and specific training from both Laura, Carol, and myself that you can actually translate and direct into your business right away and immediately to help close out the end of your year and kick off 2019 the right way. So without further ado, is there anybody live on the call right now that has a question at the top of your mind that you'd like to ask us?
Bill, it's Judy. I don't have a question. I've got to leave. And now you're making me sad that I have to leave. But at least it's recorded, and I appreciate that. Just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and the best year to come. And
awesome.
Thanks for all y'all do.
Thank you so much, Judy. We really appreciate your support through everything as well. You always pop in and show up, and it's really appreciated. Thank you.
And I got your message, Judy. I'm glad it worked out.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
I have a question. My name is David, and I posted it to the Notary to Pro website, but at the top of my head is I'd be interested to know what other notaries are using, what company they're using for E&O insurance. Mine expires next month, and I need to renew it, and just kind of looking at other options just to make sure I've got the right package.
Excellent. Great question. So you're just looking for some suggestions on the best value company to use for your E&O insurance. Laura, you want to take that one for us?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm going to tell you, first of all, who I happen to use, which is the NNA. There are other companies out there, and I cannot speak to them, but what I can share is the questions you should be asking. And the questions you should be asking about the E&O insurance that you do get. One, are you getting the right amount for what is appropriate for how you're using your commission? And then the second thing is that, is the policy have tail coverage? Meaning, does it cover you even when you stop being a notary later? Because lawsuits can happen years and years later. And there's very inexpensive E&O insurance that you can get that will cover you as long as you're paying for the insurance. But as soon as you stop being a notary or stop paying for that insurance, you're not covered anymore. So tail coverage is what that's called, where it says, look, we'll cover you long after. If you were covered at the time you performed the notarization, then you'll be covered for that forever. So just ask those questions when you're getting quotes about it. I will say that the NNA does have tail coverage. That's why I happen to use them in particular. And so that's what I have to say about that. I wish I knew about some other companies that I could also recommend, that I know what their insurance is about, but I haven't used anybody else.
Okay, that's really helpful. I did notice that I was reading an article through Notary Cafe a couple weeks ago where someone had stolen their stamp. Yes. And they had to go through all kinds of legal issues, and they had mentioned just make sure the E&O coverage you have covers you even if you're not at fault.
Right.
Is that covered in NNA?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, that's very helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Laura, thank you very much. Carol, anything to add to that?
The question I get most of the time, because I have a lot of people that are new, obviously, that I train, is how much do they need? Right. And to be honest, a lot of the people that I have that train, they're not wealthy. They don't have a lot of money. They may be working on a budget. And I always suggest to them that they start off with $25,000 worth of E&O, because that'll get them by all the signing services. Now, we have some title companies on our list, and I've told them that if they reach out to these title companies and they are asked if they have the $100,000, because that's what title companies will require, tell them, I don't today, but I will tomorrow.
Right.
And I actually, one of the vendor managers, I spoke to him, he says, your people are always like, I'll get it tonight. So that's a big question for me, is how much do I get? Because they can't afford to get out there and get 4 years of $100,000. It's expensive.
Yep. All right. Good points. And one of the great things about this business is how scalable it is and how quickly you can do that. You can start out at $25,000, meet a new client that requires $100,000 or $250,000 or whatever it might be, and within minutes or hours, you can have an upgrade in your insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Very scalable that way. Awesome.
And I see comments coming through saying that they have the 100,000 level. And I will tell you that because Carol's right. The 100,000 is what I happen to carry, because I know title companies require that. And that's going to cover 80%, 90% of the title companies. There are a few out there that will want $500,000. And in those cases, my suggestion is ask who the signing companies are they work with, and then go through their signing company rather than spending that kind of money on $500,000 of E&O when it's only to cover a couple of clients. 100,000 seems to be about the sweet spot for that.
Yes. Yep. Very true. All right. Excellent. And who else? What else? What other questions do we have on that, or on something else completely different? All right. I'm going to go to the slides here because we have plenty, guys. So no stress on here. Let's start the slideshow. Here. Okay. This was interesting, and this has to do with, additional streams of revenue within your business. That asked, where can I find information about being a legal document preparer? Now, Carol, have you had any experience with that, even in your merchants area? Is there anybody expert on that level?
No.
All right.
No, we're getting into that.
Tell you a little bit.
I'm actually addressing that this year.
Perfect.
So
Laura has something.
So a legal document preparer is really what we would formally call a paralegal. Paralegals work under the auspices of an attorney within the office. And many of them move out on their own to be independent contractors like we are. And they are called legal document preparers, or LDAs. And so I want you to think of it in terms of what are the requirements for a paralegal, because they're going to need to meet the same ones in order to go out on their own. And of course, if you're a notary who wants to do more, that's an interesting place to go, because in those cases, you can prepare documents. You can select documents. And there's a lot more you can do for the client beyond just notarizing a document. And many legal document preparers or assistants are both notaries and LDAs.
Yes, very true. In some states, like in Arizona, they require a special certification to get that, or even an associate's degree. I think you can get that now in the paralegal studies. So it takes a little bit of research to get into it, but it really is a perfect symbiotic venture with your notary business. Right.
And there's a little financial investment in order to get that certification. It's not quite like, become a notary in one day or class in one day. It may take you quite some time to get that done.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. HP, you have raised your hand. You have a question or a comment? I don't see your name other than HP. So if you're on Zoom as HP, you'll have to unmute yourself and feel free to ask the question.
And by the way, Diana offered in the chat that in Texas, you do have to be under the supervision of an attorney. So some states may have some different requirements. In California, I can tell you, you can work on your own. You do not have to be tied to an attorney. You just have to have the qualification.
Awesome.
And I believe in Texas, it's when there's funds being taken out of the property. They have I can't remember, that's a 4 something, the name of the law. It's difficult too, because most title companies do not want the notaries to come in and use their facility. Most attorneys do not want them to come in and use their facility. So it's difficult when they're looking for work and they're handling like home equity lines of credit where people are pulling money out of their property.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Okay, HP, we'll come back to you because I can't find you or you're not answering. So we'll move on to the next question here.
A6, that's where it is. Diana Hansen just posted it in Texas. It's called the A6. It's when people are pulling cash out of their properties.
Beautiful. All right, so one question we had here, and I like this creative thinking. I'm going to mute you guys because we got some typing. Sorry. I'm going to mute everybody again. Sorry, Laura and Carol, you have to unmute yourself. Got some background noise there. So who are the escrow, loan, or title officers' customers? Like, who are they going after? So in the world of escrow, their primary targets are going to most likely be either residential or commercial real estate agents. That's usually who business development managers are going after, or escrow officers if they have to hustle their own business. They're building relationships with those agents that would possibly open escrow with them. And then how can we as notaries help them meet those people and put money in their pockets? Awesome question, and I love the big picture thinking here. I'll share a little bit about this because I think there's going to be a little bit of an industry push for these types of relationships. And if we really want to talk about how to add value to a business relationship, helping someone else's business succeed is like the best ways you can do that. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to mute you guys again. We got some background noise there. If you have friends, family, or a resource of people who are buying and selling homes, and you introduce them to a real estate agent and you build a real estate agent, you're going to have a very strong bond. And that real estate agent has a lot of power. And a lot of real estate agents don't quite understand how much power of influence they have in escrow decisions. So they can actually request mobile notaries for their loan closings. They can request specific mobile notaries for loan closings. And Laura, did we have a conversation about this? Did you have some input and some ideas on this as well?
Bill, I don't think we had a conversation about this, but yes, I'm going to tell you, the relationships that I have with realtors have been fabulous. They do call me specifically when they sell a property or when they've helped somebody purchase a property. And they are a great source outside of the normal pattern that we think of to get work. And I've been able to also help them. So it is a real symbiotic relationship that starts developing as I go into people's homes and they're for other reasons. And they're talking about, they're thinking about selling their home. They want to upsize. I can refer them, to a realtor that I know and trust, and they really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's huge. And, what I'm experiencing here in Arizona, I'm actually, on individual coaching opportunities talking about is how we can help these real estate agents become heroes to their customer. Because even though, mobile notaries have been around for a while, there's still a lot of, number one, consumers that don't know that this service is an option for them. But you also have a lot of real estate agents that don't realize that they can ask for us to come. They can save their customer hours of time in their loan or their mortgage closings. So that's a tremendous value to people. Time is the most valuable asset we have. So if you can save someone from having to drive an hour in, signing documents for an hour, and an hour back, you can save 2 hours of their life. That's a tremendous value that customers are going to remember about their real estate agent. So there's really cool strategic ways that you can get about developing this kind of value on that. Next question. When is the next NNA test taking party? That's through Sign and Thrive, and that is going to be on January 2nd. It looks like it's usually on the 1st and the 15th. How do land closings differ from traditional home transactions with regards to procedure and costs? Carol or Laura, would you like to take this one?
I don't have anything on this one, so if Carol does, that would be great. I haven't done just land. I've done commercial properties, and I did find that there wasn't a lot of difference in terms of my overall procedure. There were different documents that I needed to deal with, but none of them were just land.
I have handled both over the years, and land is pretty easy. It's not nearly as complicated. You know what I'm saying? I've got too much going on outside my window here. No, but it's not as complicated as, doing a regular real estate transaction where you've got, anything above the land.
Well, what I found too, Carol, maybe you have too, but usually on land transactions, they're cash transactions. That's been my experience. And I know in some states, individuals selling land to each other, it's piece of cake, and there's usually no agent involved, and it's not necessarily like a mortgage because the home's not being used as collateral. It's kind of different, but it's usually cash transactions, which I love because they're usually quick and easy. Just 15 documents or sometimes 20 or 30. But also where the land I have experienced in is when you're trying to combine like a mobile home and land together. Sometimes that gets a little more complicated, but it's literally just the name of the document and the outline is at the top of the document. So there's not going to be anything that would be completely derail you. I think that you could, with confidence, pursue that as a niche if you were going into it.
Well, operating as I did in California and in Arizona, unless you're out in the sticks in Arizona, up near Tucson, you're not going to find a lot of those kinds of transactions. We did very few. If you're in a smaller community down south, someplace where they have a lot of land to sell or to trade, I think you're going to find that, but I didn't have a lot of it.
That's a really good point. Most of us are in metropolitan areas, and these massive land deals are few and far between these days.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
I'm a realtor here in Texas. I do a lot of land stuff. Most of the time, by the time it gets to closing, it's done. But I would just kind of warn everybody, make sure that the customer, your client, understands the mineral rights piece of it, because that's what normally hangs up a closing.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you've ever read those mineral rights disclosures or in the deed of trust, it can be it's fascinating, because a lot of times, especially in HOA communities, these new home developments, they don't actually own the mineral rights.
Yeah, most of them don't.
Yeah.
And the other one I'll be is what actually transfers, and because a lot of time that's done at closings, they'll have a transfer of equipment that is personal, and that has to be signed off of them as well.
Yeah, and that looks a little bit different for sure. Yeah, great point, Sid. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great one.
Yeah. Now, is there an opportunity for a signing agent to reach out to these for sale by owners? That's what FSBO means, for sale by owner listings. Laura, Carol, do you see value in a signing agent pursuing that?
Yes. I used to do a lot of FSBOs.
Awesome.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to come from. Most of the time it's somebody that that calls and says, I have a friend who's selling his house, and but then I'm coming from an escrow perspective too, because that's what I did a lot of in those years.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And what I found is a lot of for sale by owners still go through an escrow officer. So a lot of the business I get anyway from my regular business just happens to be a for sale by owner. I have not actually gone out and solicited listings from the owner directly and said, hey, I could do this for you. I don't see a downside to that, except it might be a lot of work. Laura, what do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot more work in the front end than what you're going to get in the back end, because I think they do go open up an escrow account and it goes through the normal channels. However, what I will say is this is an opportunity to be building on the personal side of your business. So, when everybody knows that you're not just a notary, but you're certified to handle loan documents, sales, things like that, then friends talk to each other. And when somebody says, yeah, I'm going to sell it myself, then they might offer, Laura does that kind of stuff. You should talk to her about that. And that's how you make some of these connections. So I think for me anyways, those have come through my personal connections rather than just the escrow side of it. So that's why it's so important to not just focus on my direct customers, but you know what? Everybody's a potential customer, and I don't know when that's going to happen. So I need to treat everybody as, one of those prospects and let everybody know who I am, what I'm about, and make sure I have relationships, because that's how they're going to say, oh, okay, that's a great idea. I'll do that.
Yes, that's very, very true, Laura. And I love what you said, because it shows a lot of the opportunity with this venture is that everybody is a potential customer. And that's why focusing on building relationships is so important.
That's right.
All right, let's go.
Can I chime in one more time?
Yeah, absolutely, Sid. Please do.
National Association of Realtors show you that 92% of for sale by owners will eventually list with an agent. So I wouldn't waste my time.
Well, that's a really good statistic, but for me, that's where I actually see the value of this thing, because if I was going to spend that effort marketing and trying to build a relationship with a one-timer like a FSBO owner, the value in that is introducing them to one of my favorite real estate agents that's going to more solidly bond my relationship, bring value to them, because then they're going to tell their escrow officer, this is my closing guy. That's the value I see in it. Because most FSBOs do. It just doesn't work. I mean, real estate agents provide a lot of value in getting the listing and marketing and all of that. So there's a reason they exist and they get paid what they do. So when people think they're going to do it on their own. It's a lot harder than they realize. So this is a great way to bring those relationships to your real estate agents. Great, Sid. Thank you. Question at this time of year. This was interesting. What are your thoughts on asking the client at the time that one is confirming the appointment if anyone in the home is ill or down with the flu? Because I, for one, do not want to be getting sick as a result of being inadvertently in the presence of someone who is obviously sick with something that can affect me and that I in turn bring home to my family. What do you guys think of that?
You know, well, first of all, I can't tell you that I've consciously thought to do that. Fortunately, when somebody was ill, the client let me know up front, you know what, somebody's sick right now. Maybe it's not a good time to come, and let's schedule another time. But I have not ever thought to say, is anybody sick there? I do know that people will ask up front, do you have pets? I mean, there's because I have allergies and other kinds of things, but I have not thought to do that. And I don't know that I just for me, not for anybody else, but for me, I just don't feel a need to do that. That I'm not compromised in any way that would cause a big issue for me. Most people are pretty upfront about if there's an issue that might impact us. So I haven't done it, and I probably won't start either.
Same for me, actually. I've never asked anybody, but I will say that I have gone into homes where people are obviously sick, and I've asked them if they happen to have an outdoor patio table or something, because I can't afford to, lose work by becoming sick. And do they mind if we sit outside for a little while and take her to sign?
Excellent workaround. Yeah, because I'm in the same boat. It doesn't even occur to me, and I've been in some situations where it's pretty obvious they are sick with coughing and sneezing and stuff like that. I mean, this is where I think the vitamin C packets, I'm a huge fan of those, and the hand sanitizer, which you probably want to have anyway in your car. Not even just the sick part of it, but sometimes you're in areas that just deserve a hand washing afterwards.
Can I make a comment to that?
Yeah.
One of my stories, I'll make it short. When I was running escrow companies, I had 2 escrow companies, and oh my gosh, when I first took over, I had employees sick all the time, especially during the wintertime. There was always 1 or 2 of them gone. And so I went out and I bought Lysol spray for everybody's desk. And everybody had to use that Lysol spray on their desk, on their phones. And do you know we cut out illness almost 100%?
Wow.
Just with the buying cans of Lysol. Just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, talk about being proactive on it. Great.
Bill, I'd like to just add a different take on that question, which is I do a lot of hospital work, and I end up having to go into where they are in isolation because they have MRSA, because whatever the problem is. And so what people do need to think about are their tools. So I leave my bag outside the room. I only take what's necessary. I don't use my good pens. I have a separate thumb printer that's already been used, and it's probably halfway through its life, that I'll use and throw it away, and I will not use it again. I have a hand sanitizers that I use a hardback journal rather than a softback, because I can use sanitizers and wipe them down. I only let them sign on the page where they're going to sign, and then I do not allow any other signers to touch that page. The next page is when my new signers start. So I might lose 5 or 6 lines on that page. I don't care. Besides the gowning up that you have to do to go in there. But protecting your tools so that you don't take it to the next place is really important. And if you're considering not just to somebody's home, but going into a facility where there's everything known to man out there, make sure that you have everything that you need to ensure that your tools are safe.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Guy just posted in the chat window here, just as a courtesy to the borrowers too, like flip it around. If you are coming off the tail end of a sick, he wore a mask to protect his signers. So that's a whole other level there. All right, cool. I've got a question from Irene in here. I'm a licensed real estate broker and new to the notary field. Are there rules with conflict of interest as me as a broker and also as a notary on something related to an individual or the transaction? Example, I'm a listing agent for one person and a notary is needed for a divorce paper.
No problem. I have a lot of real estate agents who have over the years become notary signing agents, as long as they don't get involved in personal transactions where they have any kind of interest at all. Something's interesting, and I think I've mentioned it to Laura before. We have a lot of real estate brokers that have come for training, and I'm like, shouldn't they have busy offices? And I found out that the reason that they do this is because they want to make sure that they can recognize a good notary from a bad one that comes into their office to service their clients. Almost every time when I've asked them, why are you doing this? That was the answer that I got. I thought that was interesting.
That's fantastic. And I've noticed that that on brokerages on this end, they are really looking at adding signing agent, the mobile component, into their suite of services, like just automatically include it as a luxury item for their clients. And that's how they're separating themselves from the rest of the herd. It's really cool. Laura, did you have something else on the conflict of interest?
I just want to say that, there are some specifics regarding professional relationships and conflicts of interest. So I can tell you in California, it's not a conflict to hold both of those titles as long as you don't have interest. But there are some states that specifically list certain types of professions or titles that you have an automatic conflict of interest. So just be aware of your own state's laws.
And what I'd like to say on that too, because one of our challenges and opportunities is that there have been people before us that held both and did not honor the boundaries that are required to have both those licenses. So it's kind of tainted the industry. And there are actual signing companies that will say, if you are a licensed broker or agent, you cannot be a signing agent with us. So, and that's because brokers go in there and they try to sell their real estate services to people signing. So it looks like they're poaching other agents' clients. So you always have to maintain integrity. No matter what we talk about ever, no matter in any training that you're in, you have to maintain integrity. So there are ways to spoil any idea that we, like Laura, Carol, or I throw at you, or that you learn somewhere else, or a course or a business that you tie into this. There are ways to taint that. But no matter what, there's always this overarching theme of integrity in anything that we do. And we expect and we trust that everybody who follows us is definitely adhering to that high level of integrity in everything that you do in your business. Next up, well, we have another one in here. Do you think we should do this one? I think we better wrap up on the questions here so we can get to the other stuff. But this is a pretty good one from Brenda, I think. So I'm noticing that in some of my closings with people from Mexico that their driver's license has expired, and under the new immigration law, some are unable to renew for some reason. I had one borrower that used his passport, but it was a Mexican passport. Are we allowed to use passports from other countries? Can someone touch on the new immigration laws regarding the identification and or other?
All right, so Brenda happened to disclose she's in Texas. I asked her during the chat. And of course, every state has different ID rules. And foreign country passports are allowed in quite a few states. I would need to look up Texas specifically. So if you want to talk a little bit more about our question, give me 30 seconds. I can confirm that foreign passports are acceptable in Texas.
Yeah, no problem. And that really is just going to come down to what it is, because every state can be different.
Yeah.
Like in Arizona, I can speak to Arizona, in that a foreign passport is acceptable only on real estate transactions, and then only if they can also prove that they have a right to be here, meaning that they have some sort of visa or something along those lines. So it's very important, especially if you're going to start working escrow direct. I think there's a hope that we as signing agents have, that the escrow officers or somebody will be there that understands the law better than we do and will just kind of tell us what to do. but we cannot count on that. We're 100% responsible for knowing what we can and cannot take as ID. And in most states, you're required to have your state statutes or your notary handbook with you anyway, so you can take a quick look. And it's totally okay to say, you know what, I'm not sure on that. Let me check the statutes, just like Laura's doing right now.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I have to emphasize because I teach in every country, every state in the country. And I tell people there's no way I could possibly know the law. And the laws are always changing. It is something that they have to really, really know. And if they have a handbook available, I tell them, carry it around with you for reference, because you'll have to look at it 100 times probably.
Okay, so here's the story about Texas. Texas says that they can use any IDs authorized if it is issued by a federal or state, which means United States, IDs that have a signature and a photograph on them. Then it goes on and it gives some examples, including military IDs, resident alien cards. So foreign passports are not allowed there. However, it goes on to talk about real estate transactions, and they are allowed in connection to a real estate transaction as long as they can prove that they've got legal entry into the country. So it's very similar to Arizona situation on that. So yes, you can use a foreign passport, but only in certain situations, such as a real estate transaction. Okay, and if that doesn't work, look at credible witness. You guys can have a credible witness option as well.
Yeah, that's the fallback here in Arizona for sure.
Mm-hmm. And for 49 states, what's really nice is you can still use personal knowledge. I can't use that in California. We are the only state that doesn't allow it.
That's so weird.
I know.
Crazy California.
Okay, I hope we've answered that question for you, Brenda.
Yeah, I think so. All right, guys, we're going to pause the questions right now. Thank you so much for the amazing questions. Nothing will get left behind, though. I have a record of them, so we'll pick up in January with the rest of the questions. We have the last 15, 16 minutes or so where we'd like both Carol, Laura, and myself would like to share some key takeaways in your business or that you can apply to your business right away. And this is based on, I would say, continuous coaching calls. All three of us take one-on-one coaching calls on a regular basis to help people grow their businesses. And one of the themes that we've noticed is number one, how to add value to the business, how to think bigger, and how not to spend or shop with your wallet or your budget in mind. And that's what I'm going to speak specifically to. And then Laura will take over and Carol will take us home. So this lesson that I learned as a travel agent in the early 2000s was, I was super young. I was just out of school. I was broke. I could barely afford to make my car payment. And I'm working for the largest travel agency in the world. And I was selling these amazing cruise experiences and African safaris and everything. And my first day on the phone, I was so nervous. I get on there and this lady wants to take her whole family on this crystal cruise, and it's $54,000 for this holiday cruise for her and her family. And I'm just freaking out because I'm like, who's going to drop $54,000 on a cruise? So I'm doing that. I'm like, this must just be jokes. So I frame it, pitch it. She goes, that sounds great. That's cheaper than I could get through them. Here's my American Express card. And I about fell out of my chair because the commission on $54,000 is, pretty substantial. So we run into the same problem even when we're doing our notary services. And I can't tell you how many times I hear, well, who's going to pay for my notary service? Who would pay $150 for me to come to their house and sign documents? Or who would pay $30 for me to go and sign their title over to whoever they're selling at 10 p.m.? We tend to think because we wouldn't do it, that maybe they wouldn't do it. And what that does is that, number one, does a disservice to them because we're not giving them the right to decide what's of value to them and not. And it might be really important to them. They might value things differently. They might value the convenience or their time or their money on a different level than you have. As a human being, we have our own past, we have our own money issues, we have our own money baggage, and we tend to drag that in with us and just kind of project it on everybody around us. But for the next level success in your business, try stepping out of that and have some confidence in the value that you bring to the relationship and the service that you provide. And in order to get there, you're going to want to invest some time in understanding your fee structures. So it's real important that you understand what you can charge and when you can charge it, what fits under the notary statutes and what's kind of additional that's outside the notary statute that you can charge, and confidently present it and not be terrified of a no. You're already kind of at no if you don't say anything. But if you present it and you get a yes, then you have a way to, that's what business is all about. You can either continue your business or you can enhance the service that you've already got. And that's where Laura is going to step in too right now and show you some ways that you can actually enhance the level of service that you're bringing to a notary appointment that you already have. So Laura, do you want to kind of expand on that and take it away?
Yeah. So one of the things that, we spend a lot of time looking for new clients, right? We need to get more clients, but the best client is the one that's already in front of you. So let's make sure that we've provided all the service that we can. And there's two reasons for that. Of course, one is that consumer experience, because the better that is, the more they're going to remember you, the more likely they're going to want to use you again. The other reason is that, of course, additional services that we could provide to this person means additional revenues for us. So it's good for both of us. And I just want to give you a couple of examples of ways that I have been able to add other services, even though it wasn't the intention when I got there. The intention when I got there was to notarize a document. That was the whole job. However, it turned out to be a foreign language document. And every time I have a foreign language document, I always ask, will you be needing this to have apostille work done on this? Do you need it legalized? And sometimes they do know, and they say, yeah, I haven't figured that part out yet. Can you tell me about that? And so I just let them know how they can do it for themselves or how it could be facilitated for them. And I could take care of all the steps necessary and verify that it walks through the system for them. And so many times they don't want to have to deal with it. Even though it's cheaper for them to do it by themselves, they're afraid. They don't want to either go into the Sacramento office or they're afraid that they're not going to get it done right. And so I'm able to pick up a facilitation fee to get that apostille work done because I know how to do it. Of course, you need to know how to provide the service. That would be really important. And that can add anywhere from $25 to $100. It just depends on how much of the facilitation you're handling yourself, plus the recoup of any fees to the Secretary of State's office. The second example I have is I've gone in to handle a deed. It could have been an interspousal deed, a grant deed, but it's just a deed all by itself. It's not part of any package. And by the way, let me just stop and say this is all general notary work. This is not loan signing work that I'm talking about. And so I'm notarizing this deed and I ask, do you know that you need to take this to your county recorder's office and get it recorded? And a lot of times they're like, well, I don't even know where it is. What are their hours? Okay, I know that information and I share it with them. Of course, I'm just looking at consumer experience right now. But when I see that they're not quite sure about what they're supposed to do, I offer, I could do that for you. I can go down tomorrow or the next day, walk it through the system. I know what the fees are that I need to charge for the filing itself. And I charge a facilitation, which would be, the travel and my time to stand in line. And I can add, again, additional money than where I started. And another example would be sometimes they call them a permit runner. But basically, I've gone in for a contractor to notarize permit documents for them. And they're busy people. They hate going down there. Mm-hmm. And when I can say, for a little more money, I'll go stand in line. I'll go take care of that for you. Oh my God, they're just so excited that they don't have to go down to that area just to take care of some clerical type of issue in their eyes, but they can't move forward until it's done. And now they can go take care of other business. And finally, I don't do this very often, but it may, for those states where copy certification is allowed. In California, I can only do powers of attorney. I always offer, do you need to certify any extra copies for anybody else? Because we're already here, we're already doing it. If you need any duplicates, now's the time, to speak up. Of course, you can always get it done by a different notary later. I'm always upfront about their options. And so sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. But you know what? Those were all opportunities for me to improve the consumer experience and to improve my, revenue. And so when you've already got that customer right in front of you, make sure you've provided everything that you can.
That's so great. And I love, because under an umbrella of integrity, you are providing more value to your customer. So you're helping them out, and you're turning maybe a $60 appointment into a $160 appointment.
Exactly.
Just depending on what the service is. That's huge. And you also touched on a couple of things that I just mentioned too, how you have to know the fees that you can charge for your actual notary services.
Right.
When some of those other things that you're mentioning, like the permit writing or the waiting in line or the traveling, that's outside state statutes for notary services. So you can charge whatever you want and whatever they agree upon.
Right. And it's all about how important it is to them. To these contractors, when I do that, they don't care. They'll pay anything. They just don't want to go there. Yeah. Whereas it's just to somebody who is with their deed in their home. It's a couple. It's the urgency isn't the same. So you have that flexibility to look at the circumstance, what the document is, how long am I going to have to stand in line? These are things you need to research a little bit out before you start offering, the service and find out you charge $50, but you were half a day, down at the tax assessor's office.
Exactly. And the key is, to understand the service, but then also just to have confidence in presenting it and not think about, oh, I would never pay $300 for that. But like you said, these contractors, especially, like I look at my uncle, and he surrounds himself with assistants and everything, but he pays them $50,000 to $80,000 a year. So when he does the math, oh, am I going to pay him $50,000 a year to go stand in line at the Capitol? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give this guy $200 or $300, and he's going to go do it for me.
That's
so he only knows that. We don't know that, so we just let him make the decision on his own.
Exactly.
Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, Laura. Anything else that you wanted to offer there, or did I catch you at the end?
No, I think you've got it all.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for presenting that. Now, Carol has some awesome feedback and ideas on staying connected to the signing agents or clients, like escrow or signing companies and escrow companies that have helped build your business this year. Carol, what's going on?
Well, first of all, Laura, I would pay you $500 to go stand in line for me, because I am 75 and use a little scooter to get around, as we both know. And by the time we meet next, I'll be 76. So I would pay you anything to go stand in line at the courthouse. Okay. I want to talk about something personal, because it'll tell you what it meant to me and what it does mean and how you can use this in your business. After we did the symposium with Laura, she sent me a handwritten note, a thank you note, in the mail, not an email, in the mail. And when I opened it and I read it, which was very beautiful, thank you so much for what you said, I realized once again how important those little things. We're so technological now, and you can shoot somebody an email. But when I get a letter from a student, and it's a handwritten letter and a nice card, and what Laura did, it means so much to me. And I think that everybody feels that way. I mean, maybe it is just me, but I think that it's really important when we start developing, which I talk about all the time. The companies that we work with are great companies. They've worked hard to stay where they're at. They work hard to be able to pay their notaries a decent fee and not be, cutting their throats all the time. They deserve recognition. And one of the things I think that we need to do, besides giving them extra services, doing those things that normally you might expect to get paid for, but throwing that in, it means a lot to them. And that can surely add a lot to your business. So when you develop a relationship with a person or several people who work for the signing service or title company or whatever, you get to know these people. And Bill has said it before, it's not all about you. If you pay attention to who you're speaking to, and they've got a little boy and they're sick and they've got the flu, or they've got a parent who's in a bad situation, remember those things. If you have to make notes about it, because the next time that you talk to that person, you can say, Mary, how's your dad doing? Is he doing okay now? And to do things like dropping a little note, a handwritten note to somebody, can mean so much. When I was in escrow, we used to have boards, that we would post things on. And even when I was running the company, I had a special board when I got letters or notes or something from customers, somebody that I had closed an escrow for. I have to think that's still going on today. People are people, and they don't change that much. So I think it's just really an important part of your business to pay attention to what other people have to say. Remember those things that are going on in their life that might be very important to them. Write that occasional note. Ask for specific people when you call and you have a question. Get to know them. Build relationships. It's as simple as that.
Yep, it really is that simple, but it's also so far outside the norm that it really makes a huge difference when you make a handwritten note. And I can personally testify to that. Carol, I'm so glad that you brought it up, because writing thank you cards and nice to meet you cards and congratulations on your new home, on your promotion, sorry about your dog, those types of correspondence with people with cards or notes has changed my business, but also my life. This isn't even just business relationships, guys. You can change your personal relationships too. It just really deepens them. And when you write things, you get an opportunity to say some of the things that maybe you wouldn't just say while you're having a cocktail or at a business meeting or something. You can go a little bit deeper and really get authentic and maybe a little vulnerable too.
Yeah, and my friend Audrey, who's a realtor, I've known her for probably over 20 years now. And she's the realtor that I use, and I have rental property. So I've bought, I've sold, and she's the only one I ever use for everything that I do there. And over the years, every time that, I've had to sell or buy a property, she comes later with a big old plant. Another time she brings me a bottle of wine. 6 months later, it's 6 months since this happened, blah, blah, blah. I hope everything's going well. Can I do anything for you? I mean, those first few years, it was because she stayed in touch with me. It's the 1-year anniversary. She followed me and reached out to me. And these were handwritten notes. They weren't long. They were inexpensive gifts. As a matter of fact, one time it was like a gift card that said, you guys need a break. Why don't you go out for dinner? And she gave me, I don't know, $40 gift card to go to a local restaurant. Over the years, we ended up becoming very close friends. But it started out as she was a realtor that I met, and I was interested in the property, and she showed it to me. And it was because of what she did that I stayed with her and that I sent more work to her. And I refer other people to her because I know how she treated me.
That's powerful stuff. And just that, we talk about this in the Morning Mastery, the pinging and staying in touch and keeping yourself on top of mind for your potential clients and even your personal relationships, and that's exactly how it cultivates. That's awesome. Beautiful stories. I love it. Guys, that brings us right up to the 10 o'clock hour. I'm sorry, Carol, did I cut you off?
I was just going to say one thing. It relates definitely to where you are. But we've done things over the years. I think you know who Notary Assurance is. They're out in your area. Mm-hmm. You know who they are?
I know who they are.
Okay. We did a lot of work for them. Bill and I did, and we extended ourselves for them. They were a great company. I think they still are. And we surprised them one day. We brought lunch in there because it was within driving distance. They were about 50 miles, I guess, from where we lived. And we went in there. It was a slow time. It was right before a holiday, I think. And we brought lunch to everybody. And that not only paid off with us getting a lot of signings, they're hiring my graduates now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you can get so creative with how you can connect with them. Thank you for sharing that. All right, everyone. This is it for Breakfast Club for 2018. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Tuesday morning to spend with Carol, Laura, and myself. We really appreciate it. Help grow yourself and your business. We'll see you in 2019.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.